Hello, welcome to PODnas. This is a sports show with some Southern Cajun flair. I'm Daniel Hawks. That's Jarrett Roser. Today we're going to talk about Will Campbell's draft combine results and how people are viewing him there. LSU has a new defensive line coach, and also McNeese State has got a little viral in them. They got a little viral video in them. It's fun. We'll get there. Jarrett, how you doing today?
Good, man. Still, recovery mode from Mardi Gras a little bit.
I was going to say, how was Gras? I missed it. Can I tell you what the worst part about being up here is that, and we talked about this, I think, a little in the last episode, is everyone, it wasn't until Tuesday where people were like, oh, it's Mardi Gras, huh? And I'm like, it's over, guys. Like, it's over for us.
Yeah.
I was hard in the fields on Saturday during Endymion and Sunday during Bacchus. I wanted to be there so bad. By Tuesday, I was already past it. I was already thinking about what I was going to give up for Lent. It's nothing, by the way. So,
Spoiler alert once again. Yeah, I mean, Sam Spiegelman from Recruit That Boot asked me at some point how the weekend had gone, how Mardi Gras went, and I said was great for 2 or 3 days there, and then essentially became just Danny Glover gif of I'm too old for this shit. I'm just trying to power through the finish line at this point.
oh yeah, I can't wait to curse jar for Lethal Weapon. That's great. Let's get into it though. Some other stuff happened this week in Indianapolis, the NFL Combine, which now is kind of weird because none of the top prospects really perform. They a lot of, especially the top quarterbacks, just chose not to throw or really do anything except interviews and maybe some medical stuff as well. But that is not the case for LSU. Top 10 prospect Will Campbell. He came in and really showed out. I mean, he was one of the best offensive linemen from just a criteria standpoint. From the 40 to the 10-yard split, the vertical jump, the broad jump. He ranked second in the combine for offensive tackles with a total score of 85. And those next gen stats, that is courtesy of, what is his name? It is Lance Zierlein over on NFLnetwork.com. I mean, everything except the arm length. He showed that he was probably the best tackle prospect in the entire draft. But that has been the big question and the big concern. Are his arms long enough? I don't know what you think about this, Jarrett. I'll ask you about it in a second. My thoughts on it are, I mean, the man just showed for, what was it, 3, 4? He was at LSU for 4 years. Was he a 4 year? Three. LSU for 3 years, that he can go toe to toe with NFL level talent at the defensive end and defensive tackle position. I think he's going to be fine in the NFL. I understand taking what may be a guard that high is not something that NFL teams like to do, but I don't see a world where this is a miss pick for anyone that takes him.
And the whole positional value thing is obviously such a big part of this. But at the same time, when there are just absolutely elite guards, sometimes they will creep up a little more highly into that top 10 than is typically the case. And I think for Will, all of the talk going into Indianapolis was, would his arms measure 33 inches or longer? And that was going to be such a determining factor for him. He goes there just shy of that, 32 and 5/8. But then again, to his credit, as you pointed out, participated in pretty much everything and showed out across the board. His metrics in the 40, the vert and the broad jump, 4.98 second 40, 32-inch vertical, 9'5" broad jump at 319 pounds are elite. He was since 2010, he became just the third offensive line prospect to measure in at 315 plus and run a sub 540 and have a vertical over 30 inches. And so super impressive all around in that regard. Later on, Missouri's Armand Membu comes up and actually surpasses all of Will's numbers in those regards. And so how this all played out was kind of a roller coaster for Will. where I think he really solidified himself ahead of a lot of other prospects that he had been more in the conversation with in terms of top offensive lineman off. But Membu skyrocketed, with some better measurables and also better testing numbers. Those two guys joining Trent Williams and Tristan Wirfs as the only 4 guys who have hit some of those numbers
Wow.
I mentioned in the
Okay.
last 15 years. So good company.
company.
Yeah.
Oh, jinx. Look at us.
Uh, I I have mixed feelings and feel like it's kind of a needle to thread with some of the talk of the actual physical measurables. And it's something that comes up a lot. The high school recruiting that college coaches are looking at. I'm very aware of the fact that a coach. I was on the phone with a coach Friday as I was trying to wrap up some of my content for the combine and kind of like set the table for the weekend. I have to do as little live during Mardi Gras as possible. A college coach called, and as we're talking about things, it's, does he run this number? What height is he actually? All of these numbers for height from college coaches evaluating high school guys and for NFL coaches and scouts evaluating college guys, they give them a really good barometer that holds true more often than I think the general fans or a high school coach trying to get their kid recruited or a college fan base trying to get their guy drafted. Those numbers end up meaning more and have more of a proven track record of importance than we want to recognize or give credence to. At the same time, there are always outliers. And so you just are betting at that point, is Will Campbell going to be an outlier of a guy that is a shorter armed tackle that can still excel at that level, despite the fact that the percentages are, if you're not a 33-inch arm guy, then the likelihood of you being able to hold down that fort shrink that much. But when you have 3 years of starting experience in the best league in college football against great edge rushers, a kid that came out of Neville High School and started at left tackle for LSU from Jump Street in fall camp. I think he has a lot to bolster that resume of I am that outlier. The percentages aren't there, but I'm the trend beater essentially.
Yeah, I always find with stuff like this too that the I think the tape usually speaks more for itself. If the tape like jumps out at you, which I feel from a lot of stuff, I have not broken down a lot of Will Campbell tape, but from everything that I've listened to across the board, it's that the tape on Will is great. And obviously from stuff that we've covered here, we know that his leadership and stuff that he brings to the table is, I bet, something that's shown through in those interviews, something that we're probably not getting a lot of news on. You don't really got to get a lot of news on the offensive lineman interviews. It just doesn't come through a lot. It's a lot more of, hey, Shador was a little weird to, the team that he doesn't want to go to. And who Dion has said that he publicly will pull a Eli Manning if need be. So those are going to get more attention. But, just from what we've seen and what we've covered of Will Campbell during this past year at LSU, you saw those leadership tendencies and all those things really, really shine through. And I think that is why he's still going to probably stay in that top 10. We're seeing a lot of mock drafts coming out now. Mel Kiper has him going to around the 4 at the Patriots, seeing him as low as the Jets at 7. So it's kind of somewhere in between that range.
I don't know if Kuiper's is updated or not.
His most recent one, was
going into the weekend. It was a lot of 4 to the Patriots, between 4 and 10. And what I've seen of things that have been updated through the week has been more of 7 to 13. I think if his, and this sucks to say, if he went out there and his arms were 33 inches long, I think he is a guaranteed top 10 pick. I think the combination of him falling shy of that and potentially some teams shying away from that, Membu having the great day that he has, and then also what, up in your neck of the woods, the Bears making moves to bring in veteran offensive line help. And so that kind of diminishes the potential that they take another offensive lineman here. They still might at 10. But some of these factors, I think Will probably still ends up a top 10 pick, but I'm a lot less certain. But I also don't think the slide is much past 10.
I don't
If it
think
is.
I don't think he and say as we talked about Shador a little bit earlier, maybe I could see Shador falling to the Raiders, but I also could see Will Campbell as a good Raiders spot because Pete Carroll loves to build up those trenches, and that is what he's known for. He's literally said how he likes to make it easy as possible for the quarterback to do his job, and that starts in the trenches. So I could really see from a rebuilding point, especially with some rumors swirling about one of the other free agent older quarterbacks in Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Jimmy G, someone like that, possibly Sam Darnold, possibly going to the Raiders, making sure that you have a piece in there that is going to protect a not mobile quarterback. I could definitely see the Raiders go that route. And wouldn't mind.
And
I don't mind seeing any LSU guys in black and silver. It's a cool uniform. So.
And you mentioned Will with some of the outside of the things we're talking about athletically and physical traits wise, the leadership dynamics we've talked about with him. We talked about going into this season and just kind of the way he approaches things. And there was, some buzz of how he approached some of this arm measurement dynamic at the combine. Some word came out of Indianapolis, and it was just, classic Will of, you can throw on the tape, and I don't think you're ever going to see a play on which I was beat where you say, oh, that's because his arms were a half inch too short.
Yeah.
He's he is an absolute dude in terms of a guy that you want around to be a part of your locker room and a part of your overall vibe. And so someone that, even if he were to ultimately slide inside to guard, I think is a long-term many-time Pro Bowl guard, is a guy that you're going to be able to rely on in this league for a really, really long time to be a really, really good offensive lineman. And I think you and I agree that there's a better likelihood of that still being at tackle despite those arm measurements than some people may give credence to.
Do we know, and you may know this a little bit more, when is the LSU Pro Day? Is Will going to do all these drills or do anything at the LSU Pro Day? Is there an LSU Pro Day?
Yeah, there is an LSU Pro Day. I'm trying to pull up the date. It's late in the month. If I can pull up my schedule that we were sent. Wednesday, the 26th will be Pro Day. I don't know Will's plans. Bro, quite frankly, he can improve the running. That's what
I was thinking.
A whole hell of a lot
do you
more.
really do you even do anything if you've just had this showing at the combine, or do you use it as just maybe another day where those teams can come in? Maybe you do a couple of drills. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know yet certainly what his plans are there, but that's kind of my thought process is how much are you going to really bolster these already elite level timing and jump type metrics. And your arms, if your arms did somehow measure longer, no one's going to believe that at that point anyway. The home cooking on that, but so he doesn't have a lot to do in terms of that, but can obviously come and come out there and showcase what he does in some on-field work if he wanted to. But I think he had a nice day of that as well. I just don't know that there's a whole lot more for Will to prove or be criticized. I think he's a guy that maybe as much as anyone else in the entire draft, the cases both directions are already out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Moving on. LSU has a new hire on their defensive line coaching staff. Kyle Williams, former LSU Tiger, who was on the 2003 national championship team that they won against Oklahoma, and a 13-year NFL vet. He played for Buffalo all of those 13 years on the D-line. D-line, which had really good success, especially, in the last 6 to 8 years. And he was definitely a part of that. He was previously at Ruston High School as their defensive coordinator, left in January. He will now be a part of the LSU staff, filling the hole that Bo left when Bo left his hole. Phrasing. what do we think about this hire? I'm gonna let you kind of take the reins on this a little bit. I know Kyle Williams as a player, loved him when he was at LSU, but I don't know kind of what he brings to the table, and I'm assuming that is maybe a little bit of the dynamic with people talking about the pros and cons of this, of him just coming from a high school, coming to an SEC coaching staff without previous coaching experience, but with player experience. I feel like there's got to be a lot of feelings down there in the South.
Always a lot of feelings when it comes to LSU and the recruiting or the hires or the outcomes on a Saturday. I think the one thing that people point to, as you mentioned, is in terms of a potential drawback, or they're not as sold when you see people being vocal on that side of things, is that he doesn't have college or professional coaching experience. I think overall, most people, and I'm in this camp, there's a lot of excitement for what Kyle Williams can bring to this position. First of all, it's a position we talked about last week that they have cycled through one guy after another, and lots of guys, a combination of leaving or not panning out. Kyle is a guy that I think you identify as there's a lot of passion for this place he's coming into, and he's not going to be very likely to jump ship particularly quickly. He's going to want to get in there and work and grind. And I think that's kind of been his persona going back to when he was a player, wherever he was, whether it be at Ruston High as a player, LSU, and then the Bills for over a decade as an all-pro guy up there in Buffalo for 13 years, and then coming back to his alma mater at Ruston. The places that he has been have clearly meant a lot to him, and he's a guy that puts everything he's got into those places. And I think him having some coaching experience and high level high school coaching experience with a 5A team up there in Ruston that has had a hell of a lot of talent. The defensive side of the ball, the defensive front in particular, has been great.
I was going to say, I just looked this up. Two young men are signed with LSU or committed to LSU or playing at LSU that he was already coaching. And then a couple went to Louisiana Tech. So it's not like this was just a high school or a defense that was just like, yeah, no, they were 2-4. They were 2 and like 12, but like love them.
No,
this was a tweeny team in a school that expect success when they jump on the field and on that side of the ball as well.
Everything was really spearheaded by their defense in this build back to where they got back to a state championship game for the first time in decades. They won their first state championship a year ago, since 1990, and then we're right back in the Dome for a third straight season. Things did not go great for them this time around, but they ran into a Central team that was playing great, and Ruston had some of its own shortcomings in ways, and then their LSU signee this year goes out right away to start the game. And so there was just a lot that kind of unraveled pretty quickly, and then suddenly a run-based offense is playing from behind in a hurry. But I think his passion and work and his focus on relationships and teaching at that level are going to bode really well for him, being a guy that can now come in with some of that mentality and some of that personability and a track record that the guys that he's coaching can still look at and say, man, you won a national championship here. You were a hell of an NFL player for a really long time.
Yeah.
You have immediate credibility with us, and you're putting in that work every day. I think there's a lot of reasons to think that this is going to be a really great fit for him to come. He's got to come in and hit the ground running because spring starts on Saturday and he arrives today. But other than that, I think it's a really nice hire.
Hey, good luck, Kyle. We wish you the best. A PODnas salute. Can we make that a thing? I think we should make that a thing.
We absolutely can make that a thing. And look, I think Kyle Williams is a great first PODnas salute.
Oh man, what did we just run into? That's my favorite. Speaking of favorites, we have to talk this, and I'll just show the end of this video real quick. I think it's so this is a video of Amir Kahn leading out the McNeese State basketball team just with all the aura. So It's just bliss. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's just amazing. So I don't have much to say. I just wanted to end with something nice, something fun for the day, you know?
There's clearly a lot of love amongst that entire program right now with, not just players and coaches, but the full run of staffers out there. And they are all having a great time being really good at basketball right now by McNeese State standards. And that's, the only thing I was kind of thinking about as we talked about this some is we won't jump into all this now because we're not prepared for it. But if you were typically ranking kind of the swaggiest, vibiest college athletic programs in Louisiana, LSU would typically run most of the top of that list. But McNeese State, I don't know where that men's basketball program is right now, but they're awful high on that list. I don't know if we were doing like a current Mount Rushmore, if they sneak into the top 4 potentially, because obviously, there's still a lot to like with LSU women's basketball and baseball and football and gymnastics. And Tulane football is doing some great things, and there's a lot of options certainly, but McNeese State men's basketball is real high.
Absolutely. Hey, good luck, boys. I hope they make the tournament. I hope they beat anyone but Tennessee. Our bar is recently a Tennessee bar, and I need money. So,
and with all due respect to your, cash drawer, I would love for them to go beat Tennessee.
Absolutely. Well, good luck, McNeese. I think that's it. I think that's all we got for today. Do you have anything else for the people, Jarrett?
That works. No, man, just kind of, I think now that we're through Mardi Gras stuff, and now that you're about to be through St. Patrick's Day stuff here in another week or so, we should actually be able to get into a little bit steadier of our flow, or we'll be here, twice a week, most weeks. And so looking forward to just kind of getting into the routine more consistently.
Absolutely. We'll be here for you. That's what we do. Follow us at PODnas_LA on Instagram. You can also check out all of the Louisiana versus all y'all content on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, LA versus all y'all. Jared will be posting stuff there and on the YouTube channel. Of course, it's where you're watching us now. All you have to do is search Louisiana versus all y'all. You can find it. Subscribe, like, comment. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, PODnas.